Good evening and welcome to Literature in 60 Minutes. I'm Zandile Pooe and I will be your host over the course of this hour. This week we have quite the exciting lineup of guests for you. I have Lorraine Sithole. She is the founding member of Bookworms Book Club. And it will be quite interesting to hear what it takes to start a book club and to sustain it over many years. But welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are joining us from Facebook Live, you may comment and tell us what you think about the content. If you are joining us from YouTube, we'd also appreciate your comments. And we look forward to having an exciting and engaging time with you. But first things first, we will be starting off with our interview, and that interview is coming up next.
Offering the fruits of our lips to the Almighty, the best in gospel music, Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience. Your number one inspiration station, Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience.
And welcome back. This is Literature in 60 Minutes, and I am your host, Zandile. So now we are going to talk book clubs. And I have here as the very first book club guest, who is the managing member of Bookworms Book Club. It is quite the rage on Facebook. It has a huge following, and I've heard great and awesome reviews about the books that they've read. So if you would indulge me in inviting Miss Lorraine Sithole, who is the managing member of this book club. Welcome, Lorraine.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And how are you doing? It's a bit chilly, but I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm also fabulous, man. I think let's just dive right into it because I've heard so many good reviews and reports about your book club. When did you get started?
With the book club, with the reading, I've always read. I've always been a reader. And with the book club was officially established in April 2011, on the 11th of April, by myself and two other friends that we regularly met. And each time we met or spoke on the phone, the question was always the same. What are you reading? Have you discovered this new author? This is what I've heard. This is what is happening at the various book launches. And then we decided to formalize the whole process and give it a little bit of structure. I went on the internet to see how to establish and run a successful book club. And 10 years later, we are still here, although we have lost the two founding members, but the book club is now a very strong 16-member women-only book club and is thriving.
Is the women only deliberate, or is it just by default that women happen to gravitate towards your book club?
It is. It's very, very deliberate because I always thought that when we are members of the same sex in a safe space, then we are in a better position to be open about a lot of things. And that is how the book club was structured, Black women only. And that is how it has remained.
Wow, sure. And a decade long, I mean, that is no small feat. I mean, 10 years to sustain, number one, the book club itself, as well as like a growing membership, if I can put it that way. But now, what kind of books have you read through the years? And, what were the exciting ones? What were the ones? You don't have to give me, obviously, the entire list, but some of the highlights over the last 10 years that have really stuck out in your memory.
I will tell you because I recently did an article for a literature journal on the book club. As a collective, up until last April, we have read 106 books.
Whoa.
Most of them are women-centric stories by Black female authors, because we are Black, we are women, and automatically we gravitate to those kind of stories. Most of them are set on the continent, majority here in South Africa. And, we love stories that speak to our existence, that speak to our skin color, our hair, with relatable experiences. And obviously, 10 years, we have grown as the book club. In the beginning, there wasn't a lot available for us in terms of African literature. So, the first 2-3 years, we read a lot of books that we were interested in. But as our interest, as well as we grew as people, as mothers, as career women,
Yes.
then we started exploring with different themes. The book club, the ages range from mid-40s to early 20s. So the themes range from career development to taking care of very young children to creating or achieving a balance between work and home life. Obviously, everything is anchored in relationships, networkings. And when we're speaking about work, it's no longer just focused on career progression. We are looking at different things like mentorship, sponsorship, who's speaking for you in the boardrooms. And we have explored books by Dr. Judy Dlamini. We have read Mteto Nyati, who was such an exciting and also a huge favorite. And also because he was our last read before lockdown. So that book has stayed with us for a very long time. And also his journey, his corporate journey is so inspiring and motivating. And yeah, we also love fiction. We love made up stories. I mean, art imitates life.
Yes.
So there is nothing which really goes through our fingers. If we love the cover, if the title speaks to us, then we are going to purchase the book and read it before we meet. And then we meet over 2 hours and we just stare into the book. So yeah, the book club has grown, and also in terms of the choices of the titles that we have been reading over the past 10 years has evolved.
And you mentioned earlier that you researched about running a successful book club, and 10 years speaks of that success. But also I've noted on your Facebook page that you've done such an incredible job of diversifying the platforms in which you now execute your book club meetings. Now you have your CNA sponsorships. Now you have events with authors. So I was very fascinated by that. And how did that sort of come to be? Was it intentional, or were people coming in and now, by virtue of the book club growing and its popularity and success, people came to you? These kind of this corporate author relationship that you've got going on, how did it come to be?
It was a very organic experience. The first couple of years of the book club, when you establish a team, there's friction, and then you need to learn and study the team that you are trying to establish. So the first 3-4 years, I wasn't even thinking of inviting authors, because, majority of the women in the book club, most of them have left. As I said, women come and go at various points in their lives. But the first 4 years of the book club, we had majority of women who did not understand the commitment it took to be part of the book club, as well as the ethos of Bookworms Book Club. So, there were various degrees of of friction in terms of reading. They did not understand that. Firstly, you have to buy the book, you have to read the book, you show up and you participate in a discussion.
Commitment.
You don't come to the book club with a book, because we are not reading the book at the book club. We have read the book. We are there to talk and dissect about the book. So the first 4 years, it was a lot of teething challenges. And when the book club turned 5, and I was thinking of a major event, break this milestone. I thought, why not invite authors? Because you could hear them on the radio show Jenny had invited them, or they were seen here, they were seen there. And yeah, it was quite a struggle. But once the first hurdle was overcome, then it just became such a natural thing to invite an author into our discussions, because our discussions had also grown.
Yes.
The ladies and myself, we understood what it meant to have a successful as well as a meaningful book club. So book club discussion. So they came, they started highlighting passages, they started noting things that were interesting to them in the books. And that brought so much texture to the
Yes.
discussions. And obviously, 3-4 authors later, now we have a whole lot of authors that we have hosted, and a whole lot more who still want to be part of the book club. But unfortunately, because we only read one book per month as a group, we meet once a month as a group, we can only accommodate one author at a time. But luckily for them, Gauteng is awash with book clubs. I mean, we are sitting
Yes.
at 120 book clubs in the country. So there are lots of opportunities for them to interact with their readers.
Wow, your passion is also quite telling of just how committed, and I can tell you run a straight line there with your people. If you can tell them, if you haven't read the book, you cannot come to the book club, because I think that's also something that gets taken for granted. That people will maybe even half read the book and they can participate in the discussion. But I really value that commitment from your side, as well as just dedication. But now the next thing, the authors that you've interviewed, how did you find that? Is it a cause of growth for you guys when you guys are inviting authors, or is it, not really changing the membership dynamics of the club?
Well, two things have happened. Two very significant things have happened since we've had authors joining us in our discussions. First of all, the quality of the engagements. You also don't want to invite an author to a mediocre, discussion.
True,
I mean,
yes.
These are people who take time out of their busy lives. They use their resources when we could meet physically to come to the venue. And, there was no payment for the interaction as such. There's always been a token of appreciation. So firstly, making sure that it is worth their while, and also worth the while of the rest of the group. You don't really want to go month in, month out to a book club discussion and there's nothing exciting happening. You are not learning anything, and you yourself are not contributing anything significant. And secondly, definitely the dynamics of the group has changed. We have a lot more younger membership, people who are women who are looking at growing their careers, women who want to learn the skills of networking, women who are looking for mentorships, as well as sponsorships within the corporate world. So yes, it has definitely changed in terms of the demographics. And but we 10 years is a long time to be together as a group. Obviously, I'm the longest standing member in the book club. Our youngest, our last member is, I think, 18 months into the group, but it has always been someone that I have known, a family friend or a friend of a friend. So the book club is not entirely made up of strangers. These are not people that we don't know. These are people that have seen us or have spoken to us on Facebook or via other social media platforms. So in terms of the engagement, yes, it has grown. We have grown. We have learned valuable skills, how to dissect a book. You take that skill into other things, into your work, into your life. And we've also learned, just being considerate as well, because a 16-member group is a huge group.
It is.
So managing dynamics of a group that big, and also, listening. We always want to talk more than listen, and listening to other people as well, and just working together as a dynamic group of people who at first glance are total strangers, but here we are meeting every month as a unit.
So how have you found, talking about meetings, how have you found the transition from, for instance, during the COVID period, how did you transition from, literal meetings to now being digital? And what sort of changes can you note that were very pronounced during this transition?
That is such a fantastic question. And because the foundation has been laid over the years in terms of the commitment to read and the commitment to show up to the book club discussion, we did not, it was only 1 month last year that we skipped.
Sure.
Our last meeting was in March, but it was not a book discussion because every year we meet as a book club. As you know, we have our community-based programs that we support for a year. So in that month we meet, we speak about who are we supporting, how are we supporting them, and how much financial requirement is going to be needed from us. And also it's that time where we will unveil the titles that have spoken to us last year that we couldn't get to. So in March, when lockdown happened, we were like, okay, 21 days, it's fine. We are away for a month. We'll come back in April. And then level 5 happened. And I thought that, we would go back to normal by mid-April. But I think around the 16th of April, when I realized that this is the new environment that we operating in.
Yes.
So we need to relook and reimagine the way that we have always delivered our discussions, and we promptly went online. And in May we resumed. We were online from our homes. It was it was weird. It was weird because we've never discussed anything online, except for our WhatsApp group that keeps us busy every day. So it was very, very weird. But what it took away in terms of the physical interaction, there was also an enrichment in terms of the discussions, because there was now nothing distracting us. When we meet physically, oh, Montle Jwang, your hair, I like
and
your
it takes
outfit,
longer.
and then something else will come in.
Yes.
So so the virtual discussions took away from that, but they also left us with an enrichment in terms of a discussion.
Okay. All right. No, that's fantastic. And you spoke of 16 members and your most recent one being 18 months. So I take it, is it like a membership subscription-based book club, or do you just allow anybody who's keen to just reach out to you and join the club?
We are a membership-based book club.
Okay.
And it is for various significant reasons. First of all, group size. The size of the group works
Needs
in
to be
terms
manageable.
of engagement for discussions. If you have a too big a group, then some voices are drowned out and you lose people, and you end up with most people not coming back to the discussions, and you wouldn't know why you are losing so many people. So the number works for us. 16 it's still a big enough significant number, but it is not too big that people get drowned out and they are not seen, they are not heard. And secondly, a membership based book club works for our paid forward wing. Majority of the women on the book club, we come from marginalized and disadvantaged communities, and we went to school on scholarships, or you had an aunt, paying for a first year of varsity before you could secure NSFAS or that bursary. So it has remained a very important element to us to be able to plow back into our communities, to give especially a Black child an opportunity to study, because we know, all of us, we had bursaries, we had scholarships, and without that assistance, I don't think we would be where we are as individuals. So it is very important then when you're thinking of joining Bookworms Book Club to be able to look inwardly and see if you are a giving person. We're not only talking monetary, Rubua, labor. If when we met physically, we used to do a lot of visits to these community-based organizations that we supported. We were either sweeping, cleaning the gutters, helping with the cooking. So you also have to be a person with a servant attitude.
Yeah,
And
yes.
time reading. I know, our lives are so busy with things, especially when we are these ages with children and work demands, and there are things that reading is always relegated to the back. So we need someone who is going to give to put in time into their reading. One title for a month, I don't think is such a big ask.
Yes, it
If you
isn't.
read an hour a day, you should be able to keep up with their book club.
Sure. Okay. I really love how you've also just incorporated the whole giving back and making sure that you are, like you're saying, plowing back into the societies. And it seems the natural thing to do, but I think most times people would only think of it in the discipline of books, maybe like getting involved in libraries and other things. But I love how you have just broadened it out and made it a more community appeal than just, focusing in books and literature itself. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. This was so insightful. And yeah, I have never been a part of a book club. I read a lot myself, but I have never joined a book club. And I think, like I hinted to you, I might be considering joining one, and hopefully it might be Bookworms. But we'll see, since your policy is so tight. You'll let me know if there is room for one more for there to be 17. But thank you so much for your time, Lorraine. I really appreciate it. Quite the exciting lineup of guests. Thank you if you are still tuned in. We really appreciate you spending this hour with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. To sign off, we are going to be listening to our poetic inspiration for the week, and that will be coming from Edwin Botany, and the poem is titled When a Boy Tells You He Loves You. Until we see or catch each other next week, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Have a fruitful week, and God bless.
When a boy tells you he loves you, it'll be the first time you hear this. It is late, and he isn't even there to tell you this in person, but instead, from a car ride home from a bar in Chicago, he is there on business. And of course you will smile, because he sounds like he means it. Because you believe him, because a boy has never handed those words to you like crushed blackberries in the palms of his hands firm. Young, full, waiting to taste sweet with you, his arms, creeping vines, begging to touch the sun in your face, saying, here, take everything I have ever touched to be closer to you. His breath, waiting to be folded into a love note passed in between the nape of your neck and his front teeth. He will remember the time you told him you felt safe in his mouth, and he will never grow hungry, just distant. When a boy tells you he loves you, you will hear music, the voice of your past lovers dancing up your throat, your stomach, in after-hours cabaret, still waiting on the last call. That was when you learned that when a boy says, I love you, he means I am getting ready to be inconsistent with you now. This boy will tell you that he loves you, not long after he had you waiting for 2 hours in front of a cocktail lounge. Patience is something you were working on, but no, not for him. When he asked you to tell him that you love him back, you will be in the car, in the parking lot of a late-night diner. You will watch the words fall into your lap like a spilled glass of white wine. You will remember the day your courier pigeon heart got lost in the wind, because that was a message it did not know how or where to carry, and one by one the boys have fallen as silently as the birds do. So eloquently they used to speak until I asked the questions that broke them into ghosts, that bled me into a corpse with so many questions of my own for the soil, but their tongues do not know simple, the things I should be hearing, the things that will make us living men in this time of insatiable yet dying lovers. When a boy tells you he loves you, only to become silent like a folded sheet of tissue paper, not wanting you to decrease him into the truth. Do not crack your face into the fullest crescent moon at the tapered bottom of a blackened sky. He never meant a single word of any of it. He is just a boy, remember? He is just another silly, sad boy, remember?